How to avoid a cash crisis in your business. So what is a cash crisis? In its simplest form is when you run out of money. It's when your incoming cash is less than your outgoing cash, and therefore you end up with no money. And why do these circumstances arise? Well, they can arise for a variety of reasons. The first one, and probably the most common one, is where your expenses are just too high relative to your income. It's that old adage that expenses are certain, but revenue is not certain. And often when businesses are doing business planning, they don't achieve their revenue plans, but they do put additional costs into their business, which means their costs are higher than their revenues if they don't achieve their revenue plans. And then that can lead to cash flow pressures. The other cash flow pressures arise from things like bad debt. So when people don't pay you, either pay you late or they don't pay you at all. Okay, so you will have factored that income into your plans, and if that doesn't arrive, then that can leave you with cash flow problems. The other area is tax liabilities. Often tax liabilities arise after the period when the income comes into your business. A good example of that is VAT. So typically your VAT return will be done or submitted and paid about 5 weeks after the end of the quarter in which it arises. And therefore that often catches businesses out because effectively they've taken that money, they've spent their money, and then the VAT bill arrives and it can catch them out. Similar scenario for corporation tax. That has to be paid 9 months after the year end in which it arises. Again, that creates problems for people because they've then got to plan for that money coming out of their business in 9 months' time. And again, we often see firms that don't do that planning, and then that catches them out, and then it creates a cash flow problem for them. Other areas that cause cash flow problems are owners taking too much out of the business. It's really important that owners understand how much profit they've got after tax, because it's that profit after tax which can then be distributed as dividend. Okay, if they take too much, they can then starve the business of cash, which then can create cash flow problems. Other areas, overstocking. If you're a stock-based business, it can be quite common that businesses basically buy too much stock and sit on too much stock, and that has a negative impact on your cash flow because effectively you've paid for that stock, it's potentially sitting in a warehouse, but it's not then generating an income back in for you. So it's creating basically a timing difference there, which again can lead to cash flow problems. The other area that we see, and it happens all the time, is just a lack of understanding, a lack of cash flow planning in the business. It's really important the business have, even in its simplest form, just have a simple cash flow which has money in, money out, and then how much money they've got at the end of the period, so end of the week, end of the month, and then you know how much you've got to play with. It's also really important if you're looking to grow, scale your business, if you want to recruit new people, launch a new product, you need to understand what your cash flow position is. And the final area where cash flow problems arise is through fast growth. So companies are going through high growth, things are looking really good, but people get confused between revenue. So your revenue might be high, your sales might be high, but your cash flow might not be following that, okay? Because you've got a lot of expenses because you're going through that growth cycle. So all of those things can contribute towards a cash flow problem. So what do you do about it? What can you potentially do to mitigate some of that risk? Well, the first one, we touched on it there, was basically having a cash flow forecast. There's a lot of tools out there which will help you do that. There's Xero, for example, that's got a really good cash flow forecasting module in it, and it's really underused as well. So if you are using Xero, have a look for the cash flow forecast module in there, and then that will start to help you using the system to develop that cash flow forecast. You can just do it on a simple spreadsheet, again, money in, money out. That is perfectly adequate as well. There's also other tools out there like Float, Fathom, which are specialist cash flow forecasting tools which we can use for your business. Other things you can do to help are making sure you're getting paid on time. One of those things could be setting up automated reminders on your invoices. So again, the system will send an invoice out to your customers, reminding them of the payment due date. If a payment due date then passes, the system will then prompt them for payment. So again, it takes some of that credit control away from the business and moves it onto a system. And therefore, hopefully, you will then get paid sooner, and then that will mitigate some of the cash flow problems as well. There are other methods as well. So financing, so invoice financing is a potential option whereby you can basically apply to an invoice financing house. They will then pay you early on that invoice in return for a fee. So again, that has been an option that's been utilised by some of our clients. The other option as well is debt financing. We always say, look, just be careful with debt financing because it needs to be done for the right reasons. And there is if you've got a genuine business plan and a business case to invest in your business, then debt financing is an option. But if your business has got sort of fundamental problems, i.e., your income is just too low relative to expenses, then debt financing isn't the right way out, because all you're going to do is take out a loan potentially, eat through that loan, and then you've almost made your cash flow problems worse, because now you've got to service the debt on that loan as well. So there's a lot of things there to think about. If you do need any help or support, please do get in touch. If this video has been useful to you, please like and subscribe. Thanks very much.